pretty much everything you need to know about taming and using a Noglin in ARK Survival Evolved. Noglins can only be located within Rockwell's Innards biome in the central western side of the ARK Genesis Part II DLC map. This area can be accessed via one of two large metal chambers located at either 50.8 degrees latitude and 29.6 degrees longitude, or at 51.1 degrees latitude and 26 degrees longitude. Be warned that this area houses some of the most dangerous creatures that ARK has to offer, such as Reaper Queens, hentai tentacles, and giant sex eyeballs. Using an S+ tech transmitter, I was able to scan and locate all of the current Noglin spawns on the map, so you can use these rough coordinates if you'd like. Most of the time they can be found frolicking around on the intestine floors or descending from walls covered in excrement. If you're still having trouble locating them, just listen for the sound of Blade's titanium sword swishes and echoes of zombie dinos to bag yourself a— Oh! Jesus Christ! What the f*** is that? What the f*** is that? Jeffrey, kill it! Why are we still filming this? Have you seen this thing? It has 4 eyes, antennas, and a split jaw. Why the f*** would we tame this? Alright, so how do you go about taming one of these Reaper strain stitches, you might ask? Well, Noglins specialize in the art of mind control and can be tamed by passively providing them tame creatures to take control of. When the Noglin is close enough, it will aggro your creature and take control of its mind for a short amount of time. The Noglin will only target one tamed creature at a time and will typically not take control of the same creature twice. During this mind control phase, your tame will steadily lose health, but won't die provided its health pool is large enough. Different tames will provide a higher or lower taming progress to the Noglin, and after 5 mind control sessions, it will begin losing taming effectiveness. The Noglin's top 3 tame preferences are Voidworms, Brontos, and Carbonemus turtles. I would highly recommend using a taming calculator to determine how many creatures you'll have to provide to Noglin based on your server's taming rates. In order to start the taming process, simply position your tamed creatures around the Noglin to allow it to take control of them. Be sure your creatures are all set to passive before attempting this. It's recommended to not mount the creature you're trying to offer, as if you mount it, the Noglin could target you, mind control your creature, then bug out in classic ARK fashion and refuse to target any other creature available. Wearing ghillie armor and using cactus broth is also recommended to avoid the chances of the Noglin targeting you or becoming spooked, but in this video example I'm using admin commands to stay invisible. It can be very inconsistent and frustrating at times trying to get the Noglin to target your tame, and more often than not it's simply a waiting game before it decides to take control of it, so be patient. Be warned that once it has possessed your creature, it will become entirely under its control and is going to go crazy for a short amount of time. The Noglin will have access to all of your tame's wild creature abilities, and depending upon the tame you provide, this could be either very harmless or catastrophic. Mind-controlled tames will steadily lose health while under its possession, and can potentially kill the tame if it doesn't have enough health. It's worth mentioning here that the Voidworm is currently the #1 tame to provide the Noglin, because for some odd reason it doesn't lose health whenever it's possessed, and despite being quite powerful, they attack very infrequently when being mind-controlled. Be warned that this could be unintentional and may be patched in the near future. Because of how clunky, dangerous, and buggy this process can be, I would recommend removing the Noglin from the area to avoid all the nasties. Grappling hooks unfortunately will not work, but you can use a Pteranodon to pick up the Noglin and take it to a safer area. The Noglin will be unable to take control of your Pteranodon once it's been picked up, but it can take control of it if you take too long while grabbing it. So once you have the Noglin removed from Jigsaw's wet dream, you can begin the taming process like I've outlined before. To make your life a little easier though, I would recommend going a step further and creating a taming pen specifically for the Noglin. First, use a net projectile or trank darts to immobilize the Noglin. Next, place a wooden cage on top of it, or build a small structure around it to contain it. Wait until the net wears off or it wakes up to ensure it's fully trapped before proceeding. If all is well, begin positioning your tames around the Noglin with their heads facing inwards. Next, place dino gateways and gates surrounding your tames to keep them contained during the mind controlling session. Be sure to group whistle all of your creatures to passive before you go any further. As a reminder, wearing full ghillie and consuming cactus broth is recommended to reduce the chances of the Noglin aggroing you and not your tames. Once everything is in place, you can release the Noglin and allow it to begin taking control of your tames one by one. Once a creature has been mind controlled and released, I would recommend cryopotting them to remove them from the vicinity, as the Noglin will likely not possess the same creature twice. Sometimes the Noglin can become glitched out and will refuse to mind control your tames. If this happens, you can use a net projectile to immobilize it, then quickly leave render distance, wait a few seconds, and re-enter. This will typically reset it and it will start possessing your creatures again. Simply allow the Noglin to mind control your tames until the taming process is complete. Once tamed, the Noglin will consume meat products as a food source from here on out. Alright, so let's dive into the controls and functionality of the Noglin to showcase some of what it can do. Once tamed, the Noglin can be picked up to ride around on the survivor's shoulder like— oh, Jesus Christ, that is one of the most horrifying things I've ever seen. Kill it with fire! Since Noglins can't be ridden, their controls seem rather limited on the surface, but don't let this fool you. The Noglin's mechanics really shine when you begin to understand and use their mind-controlling abilities, which can affect wild creatures, tamed creatures, and even other survivors. By double-tapping the F key, your character will throw the Noglin onto a nearby creature you're looking at, allowing you to fully possess the creature. This same functionality can be accessed by opening the Noglin's radio wheel menu and choosing the Engage Brain Hunt option, which will essentially let you play as the Noglin in real time. You can run around using the standard movement keys and jump with the spacebar. If you hover over a nearby wild creature, tamed creature, or survivor, you'll see your reticle's color change to green, allowing you to mind control the creature by pressing the right mouse button. Once under your possession, you will have full control of that creature's ability and mechanics for up to 5 minutes, or 2 minutes if it's an enemy tamed creature. If you're mind controlling a survivor, you'll gain temporary access to their tribe's structures, allowing you to open doors, interact with generators, and more. You cannot ride another tribe's tame while mind controlling a survivor, so if you want to control an enemy's creature, you'll have to individually possess it with the Noglin. Conveniently, enemy turrets will not target the Noglin in its brain hunt mode, or when it's possessed an enemy tame or survivor. This is actually very convenient for exploring enemy bases where you'd otherwise be bombarded by turret fire. Velenissars will still target them like normal, but they didn't seem to deal any damage with their quills in my testing, so I'm not sure if this is intended or if it's a bug. If you possess an enemy creature while near their base's defenses, they will target that creature like it's an enemy, meaning you can use a Noglin to jump dino to dino and wipe them out using their base's own turrets, killing tames and draining their ammunition in one fell swoop. Pressing the F key will allow you to leave the creature's control to regain control of your survivor, but the creature will still be under the Noglin's possession until the 5 minutes has expired, or if you choose to manually detach it by accessing the creature's radio wheel menu. You can also regain control of that creature in the radio wheel menu by choosing the Repossess option. Pressing and holding the F key will allow you to end possession of a creature but still maintain control of the Noglin, enabling you to jump between possessions easily. Please note that once the possession timer has expired, or if the Noglin is prematurely removed, wild creatures are instantly killed on the spot because the Noglin is a total badass. If the creature was an enemy tame or survivor, they will live through the possession and will gain immunity from further mind control for a short amount of time. The wiki page suggested that you could use the Noglin's mind control to breed wild or enemy tamed creatures with a tame of your own to receive a fertilized egg, but when I tested this, I simply received the Remove Rider to Mate prompt, so I think this was an unintended mechanic that might have been patched. One unexpected but useful mechanic of the Noglin is to use it as a gathering companion for meat, as once you possess a wild creature and then end possession to kill it, it will drop a bag full of various meats that can be picked up. This is actually a great way to acquire raw mutton from Ovis in much larger quantities. Now there are a few restrictions and nuances with the Noglin to keep in mind when playing around.
Oh yeah?
The Noglin will always suffer from cryosickness when released from a cryopod, regardless if you have the debuff running or not. Luckily their torpor drains rapidly and you can pick up the Noglin once it awakes. When suffering from cryosickness, it won't be able to move when you use the Engage Brain Hunt option, but if you throw the Noglin, it will still be able to possess creatures like normal. Noglins can only possess a creature if it has at least 50% of their total health and if the creature is lower level than them. While this level restriction may not seem all that big of a deal at first, it can become quite a bottleneck in the late game. Noglins do not have the option to breed within their radio wheel menu, which heavily impacts the level that they can achieve. If you tame a max level Noglin at max taming affinity, mutate it with mutagen, and level it up fully, it will cap at level 333 on official servers and be unable to possess anything over this level. As it currently stands, the following creatures cannot be mind controlled. Alright, so with all of these controls and functionality in mind, what is the Noglin's main use? Aside from rekindling my fears of Wesley Snipes. Yeah, you heard me correctly, not the Reaper vampires, Wesley Snipes. Tax evasion is horrifying. Well, Noglins have a very particular and niche use in the game that can either be game-changing or completely worthless. While they may have some practicality against possessing and instantly killing wild creatures for gathering meat, I feel their full potential lies in PvP. I would recommend investing all feat points into health and movement speed to achieve the highest amount of survivability possible, as all other attributes are essentially worthless. Noglins act as a giant wildcard in endgame PvP, no pun intended. Their ability to mind control enemy creatures alone can completely change the tide of battle in just a few seconds. When you add in the possibility of controlling an enemy survivor and gaining access to all of their generators, base defenses, and doors, all bets are off. As aforementioned, they're capable of possessing enemy creatures while near a base's defenses with the intention of either killing the creature using their own ammunition or simply draining the turrets for easier raiding. It's crazy to think that so much potential lies behind this one tiny, absolutely horrifying little bastard. Alright, well that about wraps up this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please be sure to leave this video a like down below, subscribe to the channel with notifications on to stay up to date on all of my latest content, join the Discord for a community of like-minded woodland creatures, and please keep leaving me comments because...
It's in my left ass cheek.